Good morning, everybody. This is a live severe weather briefing. We have a lot to talk about, including Tropical Storm Claudette, which made landfall early this morning with maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour. Tornado watches are in effect to the east of the center, where that wind shear is favorable for that tornado potential. We have had a couple of tornado warnings so far this morning. There is a line within this feeder band of supercells organizing as they're coming ashore, and that low-level wind shear is enhanced by the friction of the earth. Once that feeder band and the individual convective elements or embedded supercell structures make landfall, definitely capable of producing tornadoes. Then we have this massive stratiform shield off to the north, but basically sufficient instability has moved inland a bit. There is some dry air wrapping around the south side of the center, and that passes over the deep moisture in place there and creates just enough skinny cape there to generate some supercell storms, including the risk of tornadoes there. Usually with these landfalling tropical cyclones, the most favorable area for tornadoes is in the front right quadrant. Basically, that's just north and northeast and the east side of the center. That's where the photographs are most favorable for that tornado threat, where they get the most curvature, where they're most broad as well. But you can also get wind shear supportive of tornadoes, especially with these subtropical type systems like this that have a lot of dry air coming around the south side. They're a bit asymmetric. You can get some backed winds here out ahead of these feeder bands, and that can also generate thermodynamic and kinematic conditions that do support tornadoes there. And that's why we do have that tornado watch in effect through 7 p.m. this evening. The east side of Claudette there, that includes southeastern Alabama. There's still a tornado watch for the Mobile area too, behind that feeder band, just in case some of these other feeder bands are able to develop robust convection or even just shallow convection sufficient to produce a tornado threat. But this is the dominant feeder band right there, streaming into the western Florida Panhandle. And this is a new tornado watch that's been issued. It even includes portions of western Georgia, southwestern Georgia, a large portion of the Florida Panhandle, southeastern Alabama as well. But this isn't the only threat that we're monitoring today. We're also keeping an eye on the threat of high plains insanity out here from the Nebraska Panhandle through eastern Colorado. Storm Prediction Center has a 2% threat for tornadoes. Probably going to be guerrilla hail out there as well. Basically in the high plains, anytime you get a mesocyclone, there is a threat for very large hail, even up to baseball size up there. Even when the risk area doesn't appear very substantial, if you have a rotating updraft in the high plains, anywhere in the high plains, up all the way up into Canada, that storm is going to generate very large hail potential. And I expect that again today, even though there is a hatch area for significant wind up here across northeastern Colorado into southwestern Nebraska. The other area to watch is the Midwest. That's here across portions of Illinois for tomorrow. That's not going to be today, even though there is a slight risk around this boundary. Wind shear is not necessarily supportive of supercell storms out there, and especially a tornado threat, but also portions of central and eastern Pennsylvania into New Jersey. There's also a slight risk out there for the potential of severe weather, including a non-zero but very small chance of a tornado, mainly damaging wind out there, large hail. But I'm going to be chasing today out across eastern Colorado, northeastern Colorado out there. And also I have my sights on Sunday as well. That's out here across portions of central Illinois, eastern Iowa as well, keeping a close eye on that. So I've got a lot of different target areas to keep an eye out. But one thing is for sure, storm chase mode is activated. So let's take a look now at the radar information. And Claudette is still a tropical storm. The next advisory, though, it is anticipated to become a tropical depression. And then it's going to do this hard turn and make a beeline toward the Carolina Piedmont. Likely going to dump some heavy rain there as well, maybe portions of the southern Appalachians. And there's already tropical storm watches in effect for coastal Carolina as this storm is expected to re-intensify. A little bit of venting as well, some jet dynamics, some acceleration off to the northeast could be enough to regain tropical storm strength right on approach to coastal Carolina on Monday morning. And then it heads all the way up to Nova Scotia, bringing a lot of wind as well. Middle portion of next week up toward Newfoundland. But that is Claudette. I'm not going to chase anything out there tropics-wise unless it's at least a hurricane or has a really robust tornado threat. So let's take a look now at the tropics and that feeder band. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to this. Pulling up the radar right now. And it looks like Don Murray on the Radar Omega app is in southwest Ohio right now, heading north. He's probably chasing Michigan tomorrow, I would imagine. Let me pull up the map here real quick. And we're going to look at the models too. We'll break down the models for High Plains and Sanity. I am going to try to get in a quick bike ride too this morning before activating chase mode. But here is the radar data. Here's Don Murray with his cyclone port heading northbound. He's got a dew point here, 70 degrees, 73 over 70 there. He is heading northbound, likely playing the southern Michigan target. Even along the I-80 corridor has potential for tornadoes tomorrow. Eastern Iowa into Illinois as well. We're going to break down tomorrow's threat. But first I want to show you this feeder band down here with Claudette. There you can see Claudette, max sustained winds, 40 miles an hour right now. That's as of advisory 8. Flash flood warnings, Mobile Bay, east side of Mobile Bay there. But this is the dominant feeder band right now that stretches through Pensacola, up through the Florida Panhandle, up into southern Alabama. And this is where that tornado watch is in effect. And any of these convective elements have the potential of spinning up quick tornadoes there within this feeder band. And it extends over the northern Gulf of Mexico too. You can see these supercell structures embedded within this feeder band, even well southeast of the center. Usually the northeast quadrant has the most favorable conditions for tornado threat. So as this tropical system was approaching, that's the most likely chance of tornadoes. But you can see all these embedded supercell structures, Pensacola, all the way up into southern Alabama there, closing in eventually on the Crestview area, just passed through Bruton. Probably had some tropical rains, very small raindrops, gusty winds. And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning now. Look at all these mesocyclones wrapping up here. And in fact, this one just to the southwest of Milton, Florida, starting to wrap up. I wouldn't be surprised if this one over Escambia Bay is able to produce a water spout, maybe even a supercell tornado. There you can see that rotation just to the southwest of Milton right there. You got inflow coming in from the northeast. You have an RFD structure here as well. This is a supercell storm, mesocyclone. That's why it has this severe thunderstorm warning, because a lot of times these mesocyclones are capable of producing damaging straight line winds at the ground too. Sometimes these RFDs can mix down to the surface and create damaging winds. Sometimes they can tighten up into tornadoes, so I would keep an eye on this zone. Milton, keep a very close eye on your severe weather warnings. If a tornado warning is issued as this thing approaches town, definitely be sure to take cover. This is the most robust mesocyclone right now anywhere in the U.S., and it is heading toward Milton. Looks like another little supercell structure to the south of Crestview there. Tiny little thing. Even these tiny little updrafts here are going up, spinning with mesocyclones. Even the chance of producing a brief tornado. Usually it's the more robust convection that is able to produce. And you can kind of see this supercell structure here. Bit of an RFD gust front surging out. Kind of your forward flank gust front there. All connecting into your mesocyclone there that is closing in on the Milton area. New severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Milton. These further north ones up into southern Alabama are running into some stable air. So you have all this stratiform rain out there. But just to the south of that stratiform rain, basically from this storm off to the south, that's where there's a decent chance of supercell storms out there. And I'm using the Radar Omega app here for my radar breakdowns. And there you can see that mesocyclone. South-southwest to north-northeast motion within this feeder band. This thing might peel off a little bit, turn just a bit to the right. That would help to increase the storm relative wind shear just a little bit. But really, Milton, you got to keep a close eye on your warnings. This thing has a mesocyclone. It's probably going to pass just on the west side of town. So if you live in Milton and look off to the west, you're probably going to see a wall cloud passing by your location. But that is certainly a rotating storm heading toward Milton, Florida. Severe thunderstorm warning. The wind shear is likely dying out just a little bit now that the system has made landfall. And pull up the pull up the wrap analysis too here just to give you an idea of what's going on here shear-wise within this tornado watch area. Then we're going to pivot to the high plains, and then we'll look at the forecast tomorrow for portions of the Midwest. So let's see how the shear conditions are evolving there, even to the southeast of the center. It definitely had a lot of dry air on its backside. Looked a lot like a subtropical low to me, but I'm definitely no expert on this. It basically is a weak surface low here, sub 1008. Here you can see this feeder band, southeastern side. Usually the front and right quadrants are the best location for tornadoes, and you can see that coastal front down there with Cape moving inland across the Florida Panhandle, almost into southern Alabama, starting to get some advection of that instability axis northward into southeastern Alabama. Looking at the effective storm relative felicity, though, it definitely is greatest in that front right quadrant, just to the northeast of the center of Claudette, but there's just not any convection within that strongly sheared area. But notice how that stronger wind shear extends all the way down the convective line, 2 to 300, 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity there, especially increasing as you get supercell storms that are able to peel off that convective line just a bit. But the greater wind shear definitely on the northeastern quadrant of that tropical system. And again, we are tracking this storm just to the southwest side of Milton. It still has a mesocyclone. Not quite tight enough to justify a tornado warning yet, but there could easily be a quick spin up with this mesocyclone as it lifts north-northeast close to the Milton area. Looks like it's getting a little bit more broad as it's moving inland toward the west side of Milton. So I think that the tornado threat may decrease just a bit here with each scan. But when you get a mesocyclone like this, it's very easy to mix down to the surface through convective overturning as well. You can mix down those stronger winds, especially here on the south side of the storm, southeast side of that mesocyclone. You could certainly mix down some damaging winds down to the surface. So now let's pivot over to the high plains insane setup here. You can take a look at the surface map and see where the best moisture is pooling. That's one thing that I like to do whenever I'm chasing the high plains is look at the surface map in the morning, and it gives you a good idea of what the moisture quality is and where some of these boundaries might set up. And you can see the dew points are in the low to mid 60s up here this morning. Definitely feels a lot more moist in the foothills of Colorado here. You can see a bit of a Denver cyclone trying to set up near into the northeast of downtown there. You can also see a boundary coming out of northwestern Kansas with these easterly winds, and it looks like that could extend near or just to the north of the Lyman area. Maybe we'll lift just a little bit north up toward Akron and that favored zone west of Akron, out toward Brush, out toward Fort Morgan to the east of there. Do you play that area of those southeasterlies, or do you try to work this boundary off the Palmer Divide a little bit further south? Or you could play the core of the Denver cyclone as well, with those supercells going up early. Could easily get a land spout or a supercell tornado out there. But definitely some decent moisture being indicated here by the surface map. A lot more moisture than there's been in previous days. A bit of a post-frontal type of a setup here with these winds shifting back over to an easterly direction. You've even got a 62 dew point up in Cheyenne after a high base supercell moved right through downtown yesterday. So that looks like we're setting the stage for a pretty favorable severe weather setup here this afternoon across eastern Colorado. As I mentioned, I am chasing this event. Do need to upgrade to some kind of business internet plan or something because my internet gets throttled here at home, I'm telling you. We'll do 3 kilometer NAM if we can. Come on. Come on. Just too fast for my internet setup here. So let's first start off with 500 millibars, level of non-divergence here. Obviously we want to work our way over to the 12Z. And this is High Plains Insanity season and Midwestern season here as well. You get those ridge runners over top of that ridge. Right now, the core of that strong high is anchored near the Four Corners region. And we're monitoring this little disturbance here that's going to be riding over the top of the ridge. That's why there's a slight risk across eastern Colorado. This little jet streak right here. And as of this morning, as of 13Z, that was punching into northwestern Colorado there. You can also see Claudette here coming ashore. Some stronger winds on the east side, kind of showing the asymmetry associated with that. We've also got this is the system that produced tornadoes yesterday near the Indiana-Ohio border up there, lifting up toward Canada. The kicker system back behind it is why there's a slight risk for Pennsylvania, portions of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. This kicker system coming back behind. And then we've got tomorrow's system. So really this active jet stream over top this anticyclone centered over the Four Corners region has many subtle disturbances and short waves, some more potent than the others, like this one approaching the western Great Lakes. But it doesn't take much to generate a significant severe weather day. So let's track that little disturbance riding over the top of that ridge, anchored over the Four Corners, and watch it over spread eastern Colorado by 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So I think that we'll start to see initiation by about 4 p.m. out here. As the stronger flow and a little bit of lift associated with this subtle jet streak over northern Colorado by 3 p.m. Mountain moves over the target area. Claudette is going to turn off to the east. You can see these disturbances that are riding over the top of that ridge in this northwest flow. Those are going to help to usher Claudette offshore. But behind this system, there is a chance of some enhanced eventing that this storm on approach to eastern Carolinas, to the east to coastal Carolinas, could cause it to intensify into a tropical storm on approach. But here is this little subtle disturbance over the top of this anticyclone centered near the Four Corners that's going to move over eastern Colorado at time this afternoon. This is at 4 p.m. Mountain. Anytime you've got easterly winds and you get a jet streak with 30 knots at the mid-levels, that's going to create plenty of bulk shear for supercell storms there across northeastern Colorado, moving into the Nebraska Panhandle, eventually into western Kansas as well. Eventually, these supercell structures are going to congeal into a line of storms that's going to produce big-time wind as well across portions of the high plains. Also expecting this MCS to continue to mature this late afternoon across southern Illinois there, ahead of this jet streak and northwesterly flow. And then we got tomorrow. Look at this big-time trough coming into Illinois here. Big jet streak. There's a lead impulse as well that could bring some severe weather to Michigan. So this is big-time cyclonic curvature here across the north-central U.S. A lot of disturbances here impinging on the Midwest as well. So it does look like I'm going to have to be chasing tomorrow as well out there across portions of the Midwest. Looking at the 0 to 3 kilometer EHIs, I bet they're just through the roof across northern Illinois. They are. Certainly going nuts out there across northern Illinois. And that warm front could even lift up into southern Michigan. Right now, the 3 kilometer NAM shows it staying mainly on the Indiana side. Lead disturbance out there, so there could be some supercell storms out ahead of this as well. But this looks like a big setup tomorrow across northern Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and I'm going to have to figure out how to chase this. Look at that photograph across northern Illinois tomorrow. Textbook tornado potential, due easterly, storm motion at 30 knots. A lot of directional shear out there, shifting from due south, west-southwesterly, just above the ground at 3 kilometers. And then up to due westerly in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, mid and upper levels. Very broad photographs there too. So this is just your classic 4,000 Cape, 200 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity, near pushing 400 in the 0 to 3 kilometer layer. This is definitely looks like a big day tomorrow setting up. So I'm gonna have to figure out my game plan to chase tomorrow as well. Wow. Looks like a warm front pushes into northern Illinois during the day as well. 19Z, eastern Iowa even looks pretty good there. Likely will be an MCS that passes through that could have some tornado potential with it. There's that MCS indicated by the 3 kilometer NAM. Pushing through northern Illinois, acting to reinforce that warm front, and then you get rapid convective initiation as well, pushing into northern Iowa. That's round 2 starting to organize there by about 21Z, 4 p.m. Central Time. That MCS is heading toward the Chicago area, likely reinforcing that warm front back behind it. I'm gonna have to chase. Definitely gonna have to chase all the way. Sunday, and then on Monday I can drive back, and I can do my varsity tutors thing. I have to bring Gizmo on this one. Looking like a 2-day chase. So instead of flying, instead of working out here in northeastern Colorado and coming back, I think I'm just gonna cruise east, wake up early, and then work Iowa on this chase the next day. Look at that in eastern Iowa. You got to be kidding me tomorrow. So definitely having a revelation in real time here, and I'm going to be having to commit to a 2-day chase. This looks nasty in eastern Iowa. MCS heading towards southern Michigan. Probably a big time low level jet as well. Yeah, 40 knots eastern Iowa. So yeah, full commitment to storm chase mode coming up here. I'll even have to give Captain Vanover a call for this one on Sunday to meet up and then try to accomplish our mission across eastern Iowa. This looks like a big event, everybody. And it does look like there is a warm front that's going to move into southwestern Michigan. That lead MCS could also have tornado potential. Look at that low-level jet accelerating 40 to 50 knots out here around the Mississippi River, eastern Iowa into northwestern Illinois. Warm front lifting up to near the I-80 corridor as well. This is at 0Z. So this is a dangerous event here. Eastern Iowa into Illinois. Big photographs, 84 over 72. A lot of directional shear, speed shear there as well. Elevated mixed layer too, just above the ground happening. Yep, this is just one of those events that you absolutely have to chase. This is big time. Right on the leading edge of this. This is 500 millibars here. Big jet streak coming in here. And these supercells are forming right in the core of this jet streak. Lead disturbance here that's going to initiate that complex of storms. That is going to help to reinforce that warm front. But it does look like eastern Iowa into Illinois looks like the main play. You are going to have this lead MCS as well that's going to move through, probably will move through Chicago into southern lower Michigan. So let's go back to looking at today, realizing we're definitely going to have to chase tomorrow. Eastern Iowa looks huge. So this is the setup today. This is at 500 here. We'll go back to 21Z. And this disturbance here, which is a really sharp jet streak, is going to propagate rapidly from about 3 to 7 p.m. across northeastern Colorado. It's probably going to generate a pretty strong line of storms. There's probably going to be initially supercell storms that will develop, they'll quickly congeal into a bow-like structure along the leading edge of that jet streak. Looking at the surface, we can find out where those stronger easterlies are located. And it does look like there is a belt of stronger easterlies that could connect to these storms that'll come off the Palmer Divide. Looks like there is a subtle surface low, though, over the Denver cyclone zone right there. So you could kind of work just the east side or the north side of that Denver cyclone. Yuma over to Akron, out toward Ray, eventually getting on I-80, and then heading up toward central and eastern Iowa for tomorrow. And really look at this moisture pipe that comes in right along I-70 here. So once these storms hit that deeper moisture, you're likely going to have a long-lived windbag event. It's going to pass through eastern Colorado, eventually southwestern Nebraska, northwestern Kansas. You can see then you get an invigoration in the moisture behind that lead convective line. So by 23Z, by about 5 p.m., it's going to be approaching that tongue of moisture. And there is a 2% area, 2% risk for tornadoes here for these storms. So it looks like supercell storms will be in northeastern Colorado, hitting that moisture. Akron area down toward just south of there. Stratton area, Flagler, Colorado. Really, this is the event, and it looks like there's going to be another complex of storms that develops off Colorado Springs to Pueblo areas. That's going to evolve into that other belt of easterlies that's coming into southeastern Colorado. But right now I'm liking this area up there. Just on the east side of that Denver cyclone. Could even be a land spout threat when these go up early. But mainly a wind threat with these as well. You're not seeing a ton of 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative felicity, except up here to the south of the Black Hills, up toward Lusk, Wyoming. Up there I could see a decent environment just south of the Black Hills where that stronger wind shear is funneling from east to west. But boy, does tomorrow look big out in eastern Iowa, central and eastern Iowa. Definitely going to be a 2-day chase. I am going to be chasing eastern Colorado, but a lot of it is just to get into position for tomorrow, too, in central and eastern Iowa. But this is going to be a big wind event, probably some big shelf clouds, maybe some large hail, some embedded supercell structures, and then it starts to hit that moisture by about 0Z out there, and that's going to only help to sustain that complex of storms along that leading edge of the jet streak. Big windbag event moving through northeastern Colorado, getting close to the Ray, Benkelman areas there by 0Z. I hate the HRRR, especially in the high plains, but we'll take a look at it anyway. It has a similar windbag event, maybe some embedded supercell storms here in that favorable environment. Near Akron and Yuma. My door just shut. A little gust of wind there, scared the hell out of me. And of course, as usual, the HRRR is way over mixing dew points out here, bringing them down into the low to mid 50s ahead of this windbag event. Nice pool of moisture sitting here over the Corn Belt, getting ready to yield supercells and tornadoes across central and eastern Iowa. I forgot to make my Subaru payment again today too. Dominator 4. Obviously the HRRR right in the core of those storms has some greater moisture. There certainly is over mixing dew points into this system. This is more like it here. You're likely going to see this pipe of low 60s reaching up into northeastern Colorado, feeding that complex of storms by 0Z. And I think we're going to have some higher base severe storms that develop initially in the vicinity of that Denver cyclone and off the higher terrain. And they'll be relatively high base, and then they'll start to merge into an MCS. And then they might move into that deeper moisture, and we'll probably see some reinvigorated shelf clouds as it approaches northwest Kansas, southwestern Nebraska. This setup isn't your textbook tornado producing setup for the high plains. You really need a stronger cold front, moisture condition, deeper moisture back behind it. But you're going to be talking about 30, 35 degree dew point spreads, inverted V soundings, damaging downdrafts. Your downdraft cape is immense here. But it looks like some landspout type soundings in the vicinity of that Denver cyclone, the east side of the Denver cyclone. Pretty thick cape there as well. And you have plenty of bulk shear as well with this, with these southeasterly winds at about 15 knots. And the strengthening mid-level flow ahead of that jet streak, strengthening up through about 30 knots. So there is a chance of some high base supercell structures here across northeastern Colorado, but eventually congealing into more of a windbag event before they move into northeastern Colorado, northwest Kansas, western Nebraska. Look at that pool of deep moisture sitting across Missouri, eastern Kansas, Illinois, just waiting for the day tomorrow. And you get more cyclonic curvature, you get more rapid pressure falls. Warm front lifts up to the north of the I-80 corridor in central and eastern Iowa by 21Z tomorrow. So this is a big setup here. Central eastern Iowa into western Illinois, even into southwestern Michigan, northern Indiana. 2-day chase event is ahead for tomorrow, no doubt. Just for fun, let's take a look at the HRRR for tomorrow. Look how it way over mixes dew points down into Missouri. Definitely pools that moisture, though, along the warm frontal zone tomorrow. It's an easy chase. You just want to play that surface low track. Watch Iowa just ignite there after 4 p.m. Central. You first get a supercell storm in the northwest of Des Moines. Additional development near Des Moines, central Iowa. Some elevated convection develops in northeastern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, to the north side of that warm front. And look at 6 p.m. Southeastern Iowa just blows up there. Big supercell storms throughout southeastern Iowa. That's at 23Z. Big clusters of supercell storms moving through southeastern Iowa into western Illinois. Set up ripe for tornadoes. Big cluster of supercells going to pass through eastern Iowa, interacting with that warm frontal zone near I-80. Dozens of supercell storms there across eastern Iowa, pushing into western Illinois. That tornado threat then is going to be hammering Davenport, I-80 corridor to the west of Chicago. Cluster of supercells continuing at the nose of that 40-knot low-level jet right near that warm front. So tomorrow looks like I haven't been this excited about a setup in a long time about chasing it. This looks like a bad setup for tornado potential for significant severe weather. And then on Monday, I'll have to start heading all the way back to Colorado. On Tuesday evening, I have that practice test for varsity tutors. Look at the warm front start to ignite late Monday evening. This is that lead MCS over southern Ontario. By late Sunday night, that'll have crews across southern lower Michigan there, even with some embedded circulations possible. But really the main wave leads to that cluster of supercell storms that's going to evolve across eastern Iowa into northwestern Illinois. Quite favorable photographs out there. Warm frontal zone has quite a bit of wind shear. 3-kilometer NAM has it further north than the HRRR. I tend to believe the 3-kilometer NAM a lot more than the other models, but it's still, even the even the HRRR creates an environment prime for tornado potential right along that warm front. Supercells erupting near Des Moines, and then they're going to ride due east along that warm frontal zone there in eastern Iowa. Definitely looks like a dangerous event that's going to evolve across southeastern Iowa during the day tomorrow. Lots of tornadoes. Right along that warm frontal zone. Southeastern Iowa is, according to the HRRR, is going to be dangerous. But you look at the 3-kilometer NAM, and it's a lot more aggressive with the northward push of that warm front. Basically lifts that warm front up toward the I-80 corridor. Look at the warm frontal zone here across northwestern Illinois in place by 5 p.m. You can get a forecast sounding there just south of the actual boundary, but that is a nasty warm frontal zone. And those winds back even more right along the immediate warm front. But there is a ton of helicity out there, 4,600 Cape, 0 to 3 kilometers storm relative helicity in excess of 400 out there. So that warm frontal zone is going to be dangerous during the day tomorrow. Sunday is going to be mass chaos here across eastern Iowa into northern Illinois. I'm going to be activating full-blown chase mode here, folks, for this one, no doubt. And it looks like all the models kind of initiate explosive initiation of supercell storms near Des Moines, and then those storms just race along that warm frontal zone across eastern Iowa. Cluster of supercells, likely with a strong tornado threat, guerrilla hail, eventually passing into east central Iowa, even crossing the Mississippi River into northwestern Illinois with time. So a very dangerous setup here for tornadoes tomorrow as Claudette turns down to the right, approaching the coastal Carolinas area. So stay tuned, everybody. A dangerous day is ahead tomorrow. And I'll be chasing High Plains Insanity this evening as well. Active day for a briefing here. Tornado watch is in effect right now across southeastern Alabama into the Florida Panhandle. Even though the wind shear is stronger in the northeastern quadrant of that system, there is a ribbon of 200 plus 0 to 1 kilometer SRH that extends down that feeder band toward the Gulf Coast. Large slight risk as well. And also a slight risk up into Pennsylvania, into New Jersey. We also should have looked at that. But there you can see Claudette curving east-northeast, eventually heading toward coastal Carolina by early Monday morning. You got to wonder, many times you get these early season tropical systems and they can act to impede moisture transport to the Midwest, but usually in the Midwest you just get a blob of moisture that's sitting there over the Corn Belt, and so a lot of times these early season tropical systems don't impact those northern stream systems too much, as you already have that big blob of moisture there, as we saw in the 3-kilometer NAM, handled fairly well. So I think there's going to be a big severe weather day tomorrow, probably an enhanced or moderate risk based on these models. An absolute must chase type of a situation. So have a great Saturday, everybody. I'll be live, full-blown chase mode starting this afternoon and evening, and then chasing this off to the east through eastern Iowa during the day, afternoon tomorrow. Evening tomorrow, it's in northwestern Illinois, and then I'm going to point the ship back toward Colorado and then position for my varsity tutors class coming up on Wednesday. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to my weather reports. I'm going to get ready to activate full-blown chase mode. Have a great Saturday. Stay tuned to those watches and warnings and dominate the storm.